Imagine a stillness so profound it hums with anticipation. Not the stillness of peace, but the taut, expectant hush before a storm. The celestial tapestry, once woven with threads of pure harmony, now feels stretched to its breaking point, each note a precarious vibration. High above, in the radiant heart of creation, a fissure begins to spread. This isn't the familiar tale of Lucifer's descent. This is the untold story of what shattered in his wake the angels who loved him. The angels who chose to follow the angels, who, driven by unwavering trust rather than malice, tumbled into darkness. It is the story of trust betrayed, a bond irrevocably broken. What insidious whispers did Lucifer weave in the hushed corners of eternity, promises heaven never deigned to record? How did he subtly, almost imperceptibly, twist their perceptions? What did he do to those who wavered, those who nearly turned away? And what fundamental shift did he engineer within their very beings before they ever plummeted from grace? Pure beings of light don't simply embrace darkness. They are carefully, intimately led astray. Tonight, you won't hear the sanitized version preached from pulpits, the simplistic morality tale taught in Sunday school. Tonight, prepare for a hidden revelation, a haunting exploration that grapples with a question seldom asked. What became of the angels who trusted Lucifer before they grasped the horrifying truth of his nature? Lean closer, for if you avert your gaze now, you'll miss the pivotal moment of transformation. You will miss the revelation that might answer the most perplexing question of all. Why do the most virtuous souls fall? And what becomes of them after the breaking point? A palpable nightfall sensed, rather than seen, descended upon eternity. Not darkness nor shadow, but a disquieting tension. The air of heaven, once weightless and pristine, now vibrated with an unspoken unease, a sensation the angels experienced not as fear, but as a foreign tightening within the very essence of their being. Its origin remained a mystery, yet if you've ever walked into a room and instantly perceived a subtle shift in its atmosphere, you can understand what they felt. At the epicenter of this change was Lucifer. His appearance remained unchanged. His voice held the same familiar cadence. However, the reaction of the angels toward him had undergone a profound transformation. Some felt drawn to him with an almost irresistible intensity. Others experienced a subtle ache in his presence, a disconcerting flutter in their hearts that tasted of confusion. This marked the beginning. The initial fracture in heaven's perfection wasn't a declaration of war. It was a creeping feeling. Lucifer had discovered how to touch the most vulnerable parts within the angels' hidden recesses even they were unaware of. He first approached the most tender-hearted, those who held him in deep admiration, the ones who felt overlooked amidst the vastness of eternity, the ones who yearned for a purpose they couldn't articulate. He didn't arrive with threats, but with a gentle understanding. He spoke as one who understood them better than anyone else ever had. Do you ever wonder, he'd whisper in a moment of quiet intimacy, why your gifts feel diminished less than they should be? Not accusatory, merely inquisitive. Have you ever sensed, he'd ask, that there is something within you meant for a greater purpose? Not rebellious, simply reflective. He didn't sow seeds of pride. He planted comparison. He didn't incite anger. He cultivated longing, and longing is inherently perilous. One angel, a devoted soul whose name has been lost to the annals of time, was the first to succumb not out of defiance toward God, but out of a newfound certainty in himself. Lucifer posed a single question: why would God bestow upon you such a magnificent spirit only to conceal your true potential? A seemingly innocuous question, yet it unlocked a hidden door within the angel's heart, a door Lucifer had long sought to open. The angel departed that day with the faintest tremor in his light. Something had been unsettled. Something was irrevocably shifting. Lucifer noticed it. He smiled, knowing that once an angel begins to question their own worth, their own design, their own divine purpose, they no longer stand firmly upon heaven's foundation. And broken angels confide, not out of malice, but driven by confusion, seeking reassurance, desperately trying to comprehend the nameless ache within. Their quiet uncertainty spread like a chilling breeze, drifting from heart to heart. An angel who once sang with unbridled joy now paused mid-note, questioning whether her voice truly mattered. An angel who once soared freely now felt a peculiar hollowness in his wings, a sense that he was meant to fly higher than the boundaries God had ordained. An angel who once served with unwavering joy now questioned why his tasks seemed so insignificant. Lucifer hadn't convinced them that God was unworthy. He had convinced them that they were incomplete. And once you believe yourself to be incomplete, you will follow anyone who promises wholeness. The most agonizing truth is this: the majority of angels who followed Lucifer did not fall out of hatred for God. They fell because Lucifer eroded the goodness they perceived within themselves. He diminished their self-belief. He undermined their certainty. He touched their light with a delicate hand, causing it to flicker. And a flickering light is easily led into the darkness. By the time these angels realized the gravity of the situation, they weren't running away from heaven. They were desperately running towards the one who made them feel understood. Lucifer didn't lead them astray. He hollowed them out from the inside first. Therefore, their decision to follow felt less like an act of betrayal and more like a profound sense of relief. Lucifer didn't merely speak. He promised, not promises of earthly riches or fleeting glory the kind humans crave. These were promises that resonated with the deepest yearnings of the angels' hearts, the unspoken desires even God's divine light had left untouched. He promised understanding purpose and boundless freedom, and he delivered these promises with such finesse that the angels barely realized they were listening with more than just their ears. They were listening with the very core of their beings. "Why should your brilliance remain hidden?" he would inquire. "Why should you not determine the value of your own existence? Why should you follow when you possess the potential to lead?" Each carefully chosen word was like water upon stone, gentle at first, yet persistent, gradually eroding certainty. Some angels hesitated, some shivered with unease, some contemplated, perhaps he speaks the truth. Perhaps I have been unseen, unheard, undervalued. And within those hesitant hearts, Lucifer planted seeds of desire, the desire to transcend the limitations imposed upon them, the desire to forge a path beyond the rigid order that had always defined them, the desire to be chosen, acknowledged, remembered. He didn't speak of rebellion. He spoke of unlocking potential, of achieving justice, of ensuring fairness. The angels, innocent and trusting, absorbed it all. The promises were intoxicating because they were partly rooted in truth. Indeed, the angels were immensely powerful. Indeed, they were capable of achieving more. Indeed, they possessed immeasurable gifts. However, This truth served only as a mere shadow of the elaborate lie that followed. To achieve your full potential, you must leave behind everything you've ever known. Lucifer never explicitly stated this. He allowed the angels to arrive at this conclusion themselves. And the choice he subtly guided them toward was self-destruction. Do you perceive the horror in this scenario? They weren't coerced. They weren't forced. They desperately desired the fulfillment of his promises. They longed to be seen. They longed to be valued. They longed to believe they were extraordinary. And that desire, that insatiable craving, became the fatal hook. Thousands of angels who had once radiated pure light, angels who had once sung in harmonious chorus beside the throne without hesitation, now felt a strange, restless hunger gnawing within their souls. And once desire awakens, doubt inevitably follows, and fear is never far behind. By the time God detected the subtle shift in the celestial balance, many angels were already inclining toward Lucifer's seductive vision. They weren't rebels yet. They were dreamers, believers in promises whispered softly in the hidden chambers of their hearts. And that is precisely what made it so tragic. Lucifer didn't merely lead them astray. He made them complicit in their own downfall, allowing them to believe it was their choice. And their choice stemmed not from animosity toward God, but from the irresistible allure of being truly seen and understood. Some angels resisted, recoiled from the temptation, trembling with inner turmoil. Lucifer noted each of them with meticulous care. He remembered every hesitation, every fleeting glance of doubt, every heartbeat that faltered beneath the weight of his words. Hesitation could be overcome, doubt could be reshaped, and fear could be transformed into unwavering loyalty. He possessed the patience of eternity and the precision of a master craftsman. The angels who chose to follow him, the ones who leaned in and embraced his promises, were fundamentally altered before their wings ever traversed the path of rebellion. Their loyalty was no longer pure. It was tainted by desire, doubt, and a secret yearning for something more. And this is the hidden revelation. The true fall didn't begin with a celestial war. It began with a seductive promise of something greater. Not every angel followed at once. Not every heart yielded to the allure of whispered promises. Some lingered in the treacherous space between unwavering devotion and gnawing doubt, trapped within a storm they couldn't name. They hesitated. They watched as the angels around them gravitated toward Lucifer's vision, drawn by the tantalizing promises of understanding and purpose. And they experienced the first pangs of fear. If I choose not to follow, will I be abandoned? Will I lose my place in eternity? It was the most insidious form of torture, the kind never openly acknowledged, the kind that gnaws relentlessly at your soul while you sit among those you love. Lucifer noticed them immediately. He did not pressure them. He did not coerce them. He whispered, "You already possess an innate understanding of your own worth. Why allow fear to dictate your destiny? Why remain on the sidelines when you have the power to shape the world?" The hesitant angels felt the magnetic pull. It wasn't seduction in the way humans understand it. It was a form of persuasion that felt like genuine love, like compassionate mentorship, like profound care. And with each passing moment they lingered, each fleeting glance of doubt, they were drawn deeper and deeper into his sphere of influence. Some desperately attempted to resist. They clung to unwavering loyalty, to unadulterated truth, to the unwavering certainty of God's divine light. But the ache in their hearts, The subtle yearning for recognition, for understanding, for purpose, grew heavier and heavier. And Lucifer was infinitely patient. He didn't need to unleash his power all at once. He allowed the angels to struggle with their inner demons, to debate their allegiances, to question the very foundation of their beliefs, because he knew that by the time they ultimately chose to follow their choice, would feel entirely their own. The tragedy lies in that singular moment. They genuinely believed they were acting of their own free will. They genuinely believed they were embarking on a path of enlightenment, but in reality, they were merely treading the path he had meticulously paved for them. And for those who hesitated the longest, the inner battle was the most agonizing. Imagine being a being of pure light, torn between the radiant brilliance of what you know to be true and the seductive allure of promises that resonate with an undeniable sense of rightness. Some angels wept. Some prayed silently, questioning both God and themselves. Some felt the crushing weight of betrayal even before they had taken any definitive action. And Lucifer observed it all, not with anger, not with malice, but with meticulous attention to detail. Every hesitation, every struggle, every flicker of doubt was carefully catalogued, meticulously noted, and seamlessly integrated into the next stage of his intricate plan. For him, patience was a weapon as potent as fire. The angels who ultimately followed him were not mindless pawns. They were not inherently weak. And that is why their fall was so utterly devastating. It wasn't a single act of rebellion. It was a gradual, intimate reshaping of the soul, a bending of desire, hope, and fear until their allegiance shifted irrevocably away from God and toward Lucifer. In the end, even those who had hesitated the longest were no longer recognizable to themselves. Their light flickered erratically. Their certainty wavered precariously. Their devotion had shifted subtly, invisibly, irreversibly. And within that quiet shift, the very fabric of heaven began to fracture. Some angels never hesitated. Some trusted him implicitly. Their loyalty unquestioned their faith in his wisdom, absolute. They were the brightest, the purest, the ones whose devotion was effortless, and they were also the most vulnerable. Lucifer didn't need to deceive them with elaborate words at first. He didn't need to resort to manipulation. Their innocence, their unwavering faith in his judgment did the work for him. He allowed them to witness his guidance of others, the hesitant, the doubtful, and he subtly showcased the allure of the path forward, a path that promised unparalleled understanding, boundless freedom, and profound recognition, a path that felt undeniably right because it was skillfully paved with carefully chosen truths. However, truth subtly twisted can be more dangerous than the most blatant lie. He whispered to them in ways inaudible to others, "You have always served with unwavering faithfulness. You have always adhered to what is expected of you. But what if there is something more awaiting you? More than mere obedience, more than the pursuit of perfection, a destiny that belongs exclusively to those brave enough to claim it." And in that very moment, the angels who trusted him completely began to feel it. A new kind of desire, not born from doubt, not born from fear, but born from the purest form of hope. Hope, however, can be as blinding as pride. They followed him with open hearts, sincerely believing they were walking toward a path of enlightenment. They followed him because they loved him, because they trusted him implicitly, because they believed his vision was undeniably true. And that very love, that unwavering trust, that unshakable belief was precisely what made the betrayal so profound. Lucifer didn't shatter their wings immediately. He didn't cast them into the depths of darkness all at once. He subtly transformed them from the inside out. He nurtured their desire for recognition, for purpose, for belonging. He stoked the part of them that questioned whether their unwavering devotion alone was truly enough. He made them doubt the inherent completeness of their own light, not through brute force, but through intimate connection. By the time the celestial war erupted, by the time the rebellion became a visible reality, these angels were no longer the same beings who had once walked freely in the radiant realm of heaven. Their hearts had been painstakingly reshaped. Their loyalty had been subtly redirected. Their innocence had been irrevocably compromised. And that is the hidden tragedy. The angels who followed Lucifer most faithfully did so not because they were inherently evil, but because they were manipulated at the deepest, most fundamental level of their souls. They were betrayed long before they even grasped the concept of betrayal. Ask yourself this: have you ever trusted someone so completely that you failed to notice the precise moment their influence began to subtly alter you, the moment their vision of the world seamlessly became your own, until you could no longer distinguish your own desires from theirs? That is what transpired in heaven. That is what made the fall so utterly devastating. Lucifer didn't merely lead them into darkness, he rewrote the very definition of what it meant for them to be angels. He exploited their loyalty, their love, and their unwavering faith, and he transformed these virtues into the very tools that propelled them toward his insidious plan. And in doing so, the very fabric of heaven began to tremble with uncertainty. The breaking point didn't arrive with a thunderous shout. It didn't manifest with fiery destruction. It arrived quietly, insidiously, within hearts that had been reshaped and stretched beyond all recognition. By now, the angels who had chosen to follow Lucifer were no longer merely influenced. They were irrevocably invested. They had tasted the alluring promises of unparalleled understanding, profound purpose, and boundless freedom, and their souls ached for more. And the angels who had hesitated, they wavered precariously. Their doubts grew heavier with each whispered word, each subtle encouragement emanating from Lucifer's presence. Every fleeting glance at the unwavering devotion of others caused their hearts to tremble with fear. Fear of being abandoned, fear of being forgotten, fear of losing their coveted place in eternity. Lucifer had been infinitely patient. He had been meticulously precise. And now, after countless hours of quiet manipulation, the stage was finally set. He did not coerce, he did not command. He simply unveiled the path, and the angels in their supposed free will chose to follow it. For some it felt like liberation, for others it felt like destiny, and for a select few it felt like a tragedy unfolding far too slowly to be stopped. Even those who had hesitated the longest remained blissfully unaware that they were following not a vision of unadulterated truth, but a carefully crafted reflection of their own desires, meticulously molded, subtly coaxed into existence. Lucifer had shattered the sanctity of heaven without ever brandishing a sword. He had twisted unwavering loyalty into insatiable longing, profound admiration into crippling dependence, and pristine innocence into crippling vulnerability. And the angels, those magnificent beings of light, now stood at the precipice of a devastating war, not realizing that the true battle had already been fought and lost within their own hearts. It was not God they had betrayed, it was themselves. And once the heart is irrevocably broken, the wings will inevitably follow. They spread their wings, yes, but their flight was different now. Their brilliance had been dimmed in ways that could never be undone. Their trust had been irrevocably reshaped, their divine purpose had been rewritten, and their unwavering faith had been tarnished by subtle betrayal. And so when the rebellion erupted, when the heavens resounded with the anguished cries of celestial conflict, the true cost had already been paid in full. It was a cost invisible to those who watched from afar, a cost that would reverberate throughout eternity. The angels who followed Lucifer carried within them a quiet tragedy. They had not simply fallen, they had been painstakingly remade by carefully chosen words, enticing promises, and the patient art of insidious manipulation. Heaven was scarred not by the visceral wounds of war, but by the softest, most imperceptible touch of betrayal, the kind that no one could have foreseen. And as eternity would forever remember it, the angels who had once shone most brightly were now the ones whose light trembled with the most profound uncertainty. The celestial war in heaven was visible, deafening, and undeniably terrifying. The angels who followed Lucifer bore wounds that no celestial sword could ever inflict. They had been fundamentally reshaped from the inside out. Their souls bore the quiet scars of insidious influence, unfulfilled desire, and lingering longing. Even after the rebellion had been quelled, even after the ensuing battles, even after the inevitable exile, the echo of that initial manipulation lingered on. Long after the thunder of heaven's war faded into silence, the deepest damage remained. The fallen angels carried it within them, a quiet fracture, a memory of light now clouded by doubt. Exile did more than remove them from heaven. It stripped them of certainty. They remembered who they once were, but no longer trusted the truth of that memory. Purpose felt distant. Identity felt unstable. And that was Lucifer's greatest victory. He did not merely cause them to fall. He altered how they understood themselves. Their wounds were not forged by swords or fire, but by longing admiration and the desire to be seen. They had been reshaped before they ever rebelled. By the time they chose, the choice already felt inevitable. This hidden truth confronts us with an unsettling reflection. If beings of pure light could be led astray through subtle influence rather than open rebellion, then the danger was never hatred. It was misplaced trust. The fall did not begin with defiance against God, but with doubt planted quietly in the heart. And that is why this story still matters. It is not only about angels. It is a warning etched into eternity about influence, identity, and the cost of surrendering discernment. If this revelation stirred your thoughts or challenged your understanding, then it has done its work. Like this video to support uncovering Scripture's hidden mysteries. Comment below, do you believe the greatest falls begin long before the visible collapse? Follow and subscribe to the Bible Mysteries for more untold stories of heaven, betrayal, and truth hidden in silence. Some falls are loud, others begin quietly within the heart.